everyone, I'm Jacqueline Way, the founder of 365 Give and your host here on the Human Impact Theory podcast. Welcome to my home. First, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for pressing that play button. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here with us. You could be anywhere right now, and the fact that you're spending it with us means the world to me. We started this podcast because we believe in one simple truth. Small actions in our lives can change everything. And at a time where technology is evolving faster than we can catch our breath, the most powerful thing that we can do is pause and come back to our heart. And that's why I'm so excited about today's podcast. My guest is Paul Matthews, a third generation educator. He's still teaching today in Australia. He's a TEDx speaker and the founder of MyTeacherAide. He brings powerful, balanced perspective on AI and education. It's a big question that's happening in the world right now. It's one that's rooted in practical wisdom, deep care for students, and a fierce belief in the human side of learning. Paul reminds us that while AI can support our classrooms and most of all teachers, it can never replace what teachers bring: connection, reflection, and intuition, and something even deeper: the creation and formation of a whole person, not just an educated one. In this episode, we talk about the real pros and cons of AI in schools, how to make it work with teachers instead of against them, and why human mentorship still matters more than ever before. So take a breath, sit back in your seat, come into the space with us, and let's have this conversation to remind you of how powerful you are, how powerful AI is, and how together we can actually change the world. And hey, if this show gives you even a little information you didn't have before, if it gives you something real to hold on to, please support our work at 355 Give. Just hit the subscribe button and support the podcast here today. So thank you so much, and let's dive in. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited that you're with us today on the Human Impact Theory. I am overwhelmed excited to introduce our guest with us today. Our guest today is all the way from Australia. I'd like to introduce you to Paul Matthews, as I had in the introduction. Paul, can you tell us a little bit about your background and some of the work that you do? And then I want to dive right into our conversation today, because to me, this is one of the most important conversations that we can have in today's world with teaching AI to our children directly in school. So tell us what you're doing right now, and the three kind of directions that you're going in your life that are all integrating this topic.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, Jacqueline. It's been a real treat to talk with you even just before the show and hear some of your thoughts, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation, as I have all week. So, look, really good to be with you here and with your listeners as well. I'm a teacher. I love being an educator. I absolutely love it. And one of the things I should lay down as a base code at the very start is I'm not necessarily a big tech guy. I have an old school watch. I don't have a smart fridge. Yeah, I've got an old iPhone. I'm not a big fan of technology. I'm a huge fan of education. So I'm a third generation educator. My father was a teacher. His father was a teacher. I'm a teacher. And I hope one of my three sons or all of my three sons become teachers, right? So I love technology insofar as it serves me as an educator and serves my learners as well. And I hope that that's an angle that you'll hear today. So I do a lot of thinking in the AI space, thinking about, well, what are some really simple things that teachers can do to actually help them maybe save time, maybe be a bit more creative in their practice, and hopefully have a bigger impact on their learners. I do that through some software that I've developed, through training that I run, and of course, in my own practice as an educator too. So that's, I would say, a 30,000 foot view of where I'm coming from when I talk about AI and education.
Well, I love all kind of these parts of what you do because it's going to pull it all together today and what we really want to get into. And those are the biggest pros and cons of AI in the classroom right now. You have your teacher aid program, which you're going to see a link below. Please go check it out. Also, Paul's link to his consulting. He can do this right in schools and in the classroom with educators as required. So let's get right into our first question. And the first question I have for you is from what you've seen in schools, and you've been doing this for almost 2 years now, what are some of the biggest kind of red flags and green lights that we're seeing and you have seen personally in the classroom right now with the use of AI?
That's a great question. I'll start with the green lights because that's the sort of stuff that gets me really, really excited. My big passion, and I wrote about this in my second book called Artificial Intelligence Real Literacy. My
Mhm.
big passion is to see learners reading and writing. And I know that sounds really basic, but in Australia and in my home state of Tasmania, it's really not a given that people are getting to high school being able to read and write well, or even graduating from high school reading and writing well. And you know as well as I do, Jacqueline, you know that the impact that writing has made on your life and reading, and then as a consequence, speaking and sharing a message, these are invaluable skills. And so, what happens when a learner graduates out of school without them? Well, they're in big trouble. They have a hard time accessing our society and being a valuable and a member who contributes well. And so, we actually want to give students the ability to read and write well. That's what I get excited about. We know the sorts of things that help students do that when they're struggling. Things like defining key vocabulary, things like taking the readings that we're doing and making them less complex and shorter,
Mm.
things like giving them sentence starters so that they can write with a little bit of scaffolding. The only problem was it used to take like 90 minutes to do those things. Well, now it takes about 6 minutes. So, one of the green flags that I see is
Mm.
schools getting wise to the fact that they can do the evidence backed basics more often for more learners. One of the phrases that I like to use, and you'll have to bear with me because it's a bit of a mouthful, but the teachers in your audience will understand it off the bat. I call it pedagogical hospitality. Right?
Mm.
Pedagogy is how we teach and learn. Hospitality is welcoming the outsider or the stranger. All right, there are so many students in our schools right now who are on the outside because of their learning disabilities, because
Yeah.
they've missed a grade, they missed a lot of learning during COVID. Well, we can use AI to welcome them in, to offer hospitality and draw them into that rich learning. So that's a green flag I see, that inclusive lens where we do the basics of education better.
Love
Some
that.
of the red flags, very briefly, schools giving no guidance. Okay, that's
Mm.
not so good. What we want to be able to do is equip our teachers with just the basic skills. It doesn't take too long. I run a standard session with schools. It takes about 90 minutes. We cover the basic principles and
Mm.
practices of AI use. And what does that do? It gets teachers off on the right foot. It gets them exploring the possibilities. However, it also helps them avoid the problems. So we're not having big data breaches. We're not treating AI like it's a Google search. Little things like this. So I'd say no direction, no structure from schools. That's a little bit of a red flag.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Now, that you have a TEDx talk. We were just talking about our TEDx talks, and the title of your TEDx talk, and this was done over a year ago now, which I think is amazing because you're really on the forefront of this. Is AI in schools, cheater or tutor? And this is where I get obviously from parents and the educators that I work with as well, but really from parents, is I don't want my kids using this to do their work for them. But then there's the other side of the coin as well, and this goes kind of hand in hand with the red flags and the green flags, is both sides of this AI coin is yes, our kids can use it for when they say cheating, obviously doing some of their work, but how can they also use it as a tutor to help them with their work? And how do we find this balance? Where are you finding this with the people that you're working with?
Well, thank you so much for bringing up the TED Talk, Jacqueline. And I will
Welcome.
encourage your listeners by saying I
Yeah.
only have another 8.4 million views before I get to the same amount of views as you. So, look, we
Well,
can do
perfect.
it.
You know what? We're going to put it in the link below here so that everybody can go and view it as well.
Yeah, if everyone could view it maybe 600 or 800 times, that would be wonderful. Now, look, yes, cheater or tutor, that seems to be the dichotomy. Students are using
Mm,
it in a way that is either going to help or hinder their learning. And of course,
yeah.
we want it to help, don't we? We want it to be used to further the educational goals we have. There's a few things here. Just like we were talking about with teachers, students need to be taught the basic skills and abilities when it comes to AI use. Students can use it well, but here's a big idea that doesn't happen by accident. Students often don't stumble into wise use of artificial intelligence, just like they often don't stumble into wise use of their phone or the internet or their laptops. They
Social
need to be
media. Yeah,
well,
right.
exactly, and that shouldn't come as any shock to us
No.
because our whole job, or at least my whole job, is to teach learners things. Acknowledge that I'm sort of, in many ways, I've come much further than they have in my life, and I'm going to impart knowledge and skills and hopefully wisdom to them as they learn
Love
and
that.
grow. I think AI, well, it's just the same thing, isn't it? I hopefully can give from some of my learning, and we'll talk about what teachers can do to sort of help unpack AI just for themselves, because some teachers might hear that we should teach our students about AI and they go, well, Paul, I have no earthly idea. We can cover
Hmm.
that later on. However, we should be teaching our students the basic principles and practices. And second of all, maybe even underneath all of that, we want to give them what I call a vision for growth. Let me
Mm.
unpack that term. Many students think that the purpose of the work they do in school is to produce a certain kind of work. And that might sound, oh, well, of course that's true, but it's actually a disastrous assumption in this AI world. See, the purpose of doing an essay is not to produce an essay, right? I just led my whole grade 9 class through a study of World War One. Now I've got 30 papers on my desk all about the causes of World War One. Those papers aren't the point. The purpose of the work is not to produce a kind of work. The purpose of the work is to produce a kind of person, a kind of person who can think deeply, who can ponder and wonder and sit with ideas and debate and analyze and synthesize. It's about creating a person. We need to sell our learners on that vision and say,
Love
hey,
that.
look, you might use AI to do your work and you might produce the work, but you are not going to produce the person. And that's a big problem. And so if we can get that base idea laid down first, well, then I hope learners will actually be able to engage in reflective practice with AI and go, what is this doing to me? How is it shaping me? What kind of person am I becoming? Am I learning and growing? Those sorts of questions, when they're going around a learner's head, well, that's almost hopefully going to sort of lead them towards true north, towards that learning and goal of growth as they go through their use of AI as a student.
I love that you said that. It's reflecting back on your AI time almost. I don't think I've heard it said that way. And also beautifully said, it's about creating the person. I believe that AI gives us, and I'm very different than most people, and I'm not saying I don't see the downfall in AI as well, but I do have the choice to see the positive aspects of AI and this opportunity to learn and grow beyond what we thought was possible. I know I've done it in my own life using AI. And I love that reflective. It would be great to come up with almost the reflective AI questions on how you partnered with it, what you got to learn because of the use of the tool, how you got to grow beyond or be creative beyond what you thought was possible. And I see those as some really great growth tools and questions that students could start looking at as their reflective ability on their learning with AI. So that was
Well,
fantastic. Thank you.
let me tell you this very briefly. I often talk to my learners about how is AI shaping you. All right.
Yeah.
Education is not about information, it's about formation. So how is AI shaping you? And SHAPE is actually an acronym that I go through with them. It stands for self. So how is AI shaping your view of yourself? How is it shaping your habits? SH. A is academics. How is it impacting your schoolwork? P is perspectives. And E is evaluation. What steps are you taking to actually evaluate the output? So if we can get students thinking
Love
about
that.
self, habits, academics, perspectives, and evaluation, I think that'll give them at least a good high level overview of how AI is shaping them.
Perfect. I love that. And that's a great acronym that I think everybody can really follow along here and use themselves. So thank you for sharing that with us. There was a recent study, and I just saw this yesterday that was done by MIT, and it came out about the prolonged use of AI and particularly tools like ChatGPT and how it can impact cognitive function and critical thinking skills. Now, listen, while AI is a powerful tool for saving us a lot of time and effort, the reliance on it is a concern, I think, for most parents, certainly, and even for educators as well. They're actually now showing, based on studies, is that the cognitive engagement and our ability for our memory, we actually go into something called cognitive debt when it's not used to the best of a learner's, I'm going to say, their ability and used as a partner, as we said, in our growth. Do you have any concern, or do you see this as, or have you seen this directly, I'm going to say, in the classroom, where you're seeing an overuse of kids using it in the classroom and not actually using it as a partner for their learning?
Sure. That's a great question. Let me give two summary thoughts on that. First of all, yes, there are some studies that are showing it's dangerous if we integrate AI in unwise ways. Now, that really shouldn't be like a headline. That shouldn't be
Yeah.
a news flash for us, because what it's effectively saying, and what the study boiled down to, is if you use AI badly, it will go badly for you. To which I think we would all
Yeah.
say, of course. If you use your car or your phone or your laptop or a knife and fork badly, it will also go badly for you. So, yes, of course, but we shouldn't judge the use of something by the abuse of something. So, yes,
Mm.
AI, when it's abused, it goes badly, but that doesn't then exclude all possible good uses. And I just want to lay that idea down first, because I think many people see those studies and go, oh no, cognitive offloading, cognitive debt, our learners are going to be in big trouble. Let's get it out of here. To which
Yeah.
I would say, I think that lacks a certain kind of optimistic creativity, perhaps. So, yes, bad use is bad. We can all agree on that. Second of all, the way that I approach this, having said all that, um, I've gone back in my classroom to pen and paper quite a lot
Mm.
of the time. Now, that's an act of love and service
Yeah.
towards my learners, because I know that there are many learners who have some issues with impulse control. So, yes, they've got their laptops open. Yes, they actually want to learn and they want to do the right thing. However, the emails are just over here. A browser game is just over there. Their photo roll is just down here. And so they're actually having to fight a few cognitive battles just
Right.
to engage in the learning. And so, as an act of love and kindness, I've gone back to pen and paper for the vast majority of learners. Yes, there are some people, say, with dyspraxia who can't write very well. They're on the laptops. But for the vast majority of people, they're on pen and paper. And that means less distraction, and it also means they can't use AI tools. I definitely want to train my students to use AI, but it doesn't mean I want them using it all the time. I want them to be able to build those cognitive muscles, and so that will actually allow them to not only learn and grow, it will allow them to use AI wisely. The big idea that I share with them often is that it's only good writers who can get AI to write well. Right? It's only good designers who can get AI to design well, only good directors who can get AI to direct well. And so you actually need skills and
Yeah.
abilities and knowledge and understanding if you're going to use AI well. It's not like we'll all be able to sit back and let AI do our jobs. I believe we will be driving and guiding AI. And what's going to help you guide it? I call it OI, right? Your organic intelligence. We
Mm.
can't
Beautiful.
automate things that we don't understand. I would be a rubbish graphic designer, so you could give me the world's most powerful graphic design AI. It's going to be very limited in my hands because I don't understand graphic design. So this is why we want to say to learners, yes, there's a lot going on in the world. You're not sure what the future looks like. I can tell you this though: learning to read, learning to write, learning to think, learning to speak. If you can do those four things, you are setting yourself up for success, no matter what the world looks like. So all that to say is I don't have my learners on tech very often. We're on pen and paper. I do train them how to use it, but I also try and cast that vision of saying your skills and abilities that you're honing in the classroom with me right now, that's not being that's not set against AI, as in artificial intelligence will actually be more powerful in your hands because of what we're doing right here with our pens and our paper.
Yeah, I love that. And we know as well, even that cognitive ability and our executive functioning, just using our hands and a pen on paper stimulates our brain like fine-tuning a muscle. It's no different than going to the gym, that our brain does need that exercise. So I love that you're actually integrating both, and I see that for most classrooms, and I'm hoping we'll continue to do that moving forward. One of the things you and I talked about while we were getting started, and I say this all of the time, I love AI for the most special people in the world, which to me are educators. I think that you're underpaid. I think you're overworked. And I see AI as a beautiful tool to really you can use as a partner to help you prepare for your classrooms and be more creative with your classrooms and make all those printables and the artwork and all of the other things that I know you'd like to do and either don't have the time or the money to do it for your classrooms. What are some of the ways that you see this for educators as being a really helpful tool? Because I think we have to start at the top, and we really need to, and you said this already, but we need to start with the educators and start giving them some ideas on implementation and how they can use it so that they get a better feel for it. They get past the scared part, they get past the uncomfortableness of, interacting with whichever one of the tools they choose. What are some of the things the educators can start using it for right now?
So here's my big encouragement to educators right off the bat, Jacqueline, is the best thing you can do going forward, even if you're hesitant with artificial intelligence, you're not a tech person, maybe you have a bit of change fatigue. My encouragement to you is simply this: it's to be a learner, right? It's to do the same thing we actually expect our students to do every single day when they come into the classroom. We expect them to bravely confront the limits of their knowledge, to explore past that, and to learn and grow. And so I put it to you, it's not a great message if we're going into our classrooms and we're going, I can't wrap my head around this, I don't understand this, I'm not a tech person, tech never works for me. Well, what are we actually saying? We're saying we're not open to learning, which is the one thing we require of every single student. We have with technology and with AI a great opportunity to actually lead our classrooms in being learners, and then look, the students can learn from the overflow of our learning. It's a great way to lead. Now, what can educators use AI for? All manner of things. Here's my philosophy, though. Yes, there are some creative, cutting edge things that people are doing out there. I was at a conference recently and someone had AI Plato on the screen, and they'd fed a bunch of Plato's sort of writings in there, and they had conversations going with Plato based on these books. And look, that's fine. I thought that was kind of cool. Another person was doing a virtual reality trip to the Great Pyramid of Giza in the metaverse. Again, kind of cool. That's not what really revs my engine, though, Jacqueline. What gets me excited is those basics done better. I call it AI for better basics. So
I love it.
let's the cool sort of froth and bubble stuff. That's great, but we actually need people reading and writing. We need people doing the basics, and we know what helps them do that. So let's do that more often for more learners. Text differentiation. Remember, we talked about that at the beginning, adjusting the length and complexity of a text. Easy to do with AI. Creating sentence stems, easy to do with AI. Creating vocabulary lists, easy. Retrieval practice and reflection questions, easy to do.
Amazing.
My encouragement to educators is say, you're the experts. You know what helps your learners learn. And I bet you for 90% of that, artificial intelligence can help. And what does that mean? It means often not that we're leaving early to go play an extra round of golf. It actually means our classrooms can be more richly resourced than ever before possible. Because in the same time, well, we can make the educational experience for our learners so much more tailored, personalized, and feedback rich. So I gave you those 5 examples, but the
Oh, I love
educators
those.
listening, they'll have a really good idea of what to do. And I put it to you with a little bit of practice, AI can be a really powerful aid to you.
Well, one of the struggles I hear from teachers on a regular basis, you and I both have children, 3 boys, and all 3 of my boys have neurodevelopmental disorders with learning disabilities in the classroom. And over the years, we've been very challenged because even though they have an educational assist support, the teachers still oversee their learning. And one of the challenges in the past that we've had has been being able to adapt the work for their learning ability. Wouldn't it be easy for a teacher now to literally upload, let's say, a grade 6 math quiz and change it to either whether it's another grade level or adapt it to a child's learning ability based on where they were? Would we'll use ChatGPT, any of them, Gemini, would they be able to change that and make it more appropriate for different learners in the classroom?
So easily,
Oh,
so
I love
easily.
that.
And let me
That's
tell you
great
that
news.
if AI, if that was the only thing that artificial intelligence could do, which is adapt the difficulty of learning resources up or
Yeah.
down, if that was the only thing it could do, it would still be the biggest step forward in educational
Right.
history we've ever seen. I mean, it can do a
Ugh,
lot more than that, but it can do that. And that's
yeah.
great because we know, especially post-COVID, the learning gap in our classrooms is bigger than it's ever been. The gap between the most
Absolutely.
advanced learner and the learner who needs the most assistance, it is huge. And that means teachers are struggling because often they've got a grade range of maybe 4 or 5 grades. They're having to cater for sort of three separate learners or learner profiles. And I mean, I teach 32 lessons a week. That can very easily become 96 lessons a week if you're having to
Right.
actually do all these different things. I tell you what, there has never been a better time to have a tool like AI. The classroom is so diverse.
Hmm.
It's almost like it's come at just the right time. So I get really excited about using it to help offer what we were calling earlier, that pedagogical hospitality. How can I make
Right.
sure that guy over there is welcomed into the learning? Um, Now, thankfully, we can do that. We can get student care happening without having to sacrifice our self-care.
Yeah.
Like you can use AI to do all the things that it used to take your evenings, weekends, and holidays to do. But now there's no tug of war. Now you're not
Mm.
caught in the middle between student and self care. You can look after them and you can look after you. I think it's the best time in the world to be a teacher.
I love to hear that for educators. That makes me more excited than anything. I've got two final questions for you. And the first one, and we hear this a lot, is, will AI ever replace teachers? What are
That's a
your
good
thoughts?
question. Look, I get asked that all the time,
I
Jacqueline.
bet.
Here is my Here's my 2 cents. Okay, it's a really big idea. Well, we already see it starting to happen. I think it's going to go badly, and here's why. Questions about education and learning and technology, they are questions which are built on answers to deeper questions. And a lot of our questions about education and technology come back down to perhaps what we might call anthropology. What is a human being? Now, artificial intelligence could teach a learner, and it can give learner information. If human beings were just a brain on a stick, as one person had said, well, then all we would need to flourish and grow is information. But we're actually not, are we? We are a head to be informed, yes, but we're also a heart to be formed and hands to be equipped. We are head, heart, and hand. As some others have said from other backgrounds, we are mind, heart, soul, mind, and strength, right? And how are we going to learn? From other people who are heart, soul, mind, and strength. We are incarnated people and we teach incarnated people. Education is actually one of the most human things we do. They often say that one of the biggest life lessons we learn from our teachers are caught, not taught. I wonder if you've ever heard that before. They're
Yeah,
caught, not taught. It's what are we absorbing from our teachers
yeah,
in the process of teaching? That's what
exactly.
sticks with us.
Hmm.
AI may be able to teach. It may be able to teach, but what will you catch? What will you catch off an AI? And unfortunately, if you lose that ability if you miss out on the things that are caught, and you only get the things that are taught, well, you take a pretty substantial haircut on your educational experience. So I would say, based on who human beings are, as far more than a brain, based on the humanness of education, deeply human process, perhaps one of the most human things we do, and based on the nature of education, which is not just about what is taught, but also about what is caught, I would say there is no way on earth AI will ever be replacing teachers.
I love that. That's bravo. And I agree. I think that there's so much of the human heart that educates our kids in the classroom. And there are the teachers. I think we all have at least one, if not a few teachers that if you said, what were the teachers that really impacted your life? It was never about what we learned from them, but that heart-centered connection that we had with them. So that's beautiful. Now, just on our way out, and I always like to ask this as we wrap up the podcast, 365 Give and the Human Impact Theory is all about what are the practices that we can start implementing in our life every day that are going to help us learn and grow and thrive. And I like to say, become the best version of who we are. If there were just one small or two small practices, you could say to educators today, what could they start doing today? It's the little small things so that this doesn't scare the crap out of them, that they're not running away going, I'm overwhelmed, it's too much, because I think we're all feeling a bit like that right now. What are just one or two small things, actions they could start doing right now to get rid of that fear, calm down, and help make AI a tool to help them thrive in the classroom and their own lives?
Great question. And I think a fantastic place to sort of lead and send our educators and even other people back out into the world
Anybody,
after this
exactly.
podcast. Look, let's go with one piece of knowledge for teachers and one practice. So the knowledge is this, and this is specifically to teachers. If you are an educator, you might be afraid of artificial intelligence, you might be sick of change, but I put it to you that you already have everything you need to use AI well. In fact, you have all the skills you need to be a world-class user of artificial intelligence. If you think about prompting, that's where you ask AI to do something. All that is, my friend, is explaining a task, right? And if you think about iterating, which is following up and sort of editing the output, all that is giving feedback. And so, what is artificial intelligence use? It's explaining tasks and giving feedback. And if you are a teacher, that is your bread and butter.
That's
I'd
what
put
you
it to you,
do. I love
you're
that.
probably better than anyone else in the world at that. So, I would say that's a feather in your cap. Do not be afraid. You have the skills you need. If
Love
you
it.
go, okay, yes, thank you, Paul, I understand. Now, what do I do? I would say try I call it the 1, 2, 3 practice. Pick one tool, doesn't matter what it
Yeah.
is. Could be Copilot, could be ChatGPT. Pick two things to do. Well, I'm going to adjust the length and complexity of a text. I'm going to create some sentence starters and iterate the output. That means go back and forth 3 times. So one tool, two practices, 3 iterations each. If you can do that really simple practice, that will help you get your AI sea legs. And from there, well, the sky's the limit.
I love this. That was brilliant. That was perfect to wrap this up today. And most of all, I think you took the fear out, not only, I'm hoping, for our educators that are listening today, but also for so many of our other listeners who are getting so stuck and so overwhelmed. We're going to need to have you back on the show. This is just the beginning. I'm sure of it, because what we know is this topic is exploding and every day it changes far faster than any of us can keep up. So I'm so excited to have our time together. Thank you so much. And just a reminder, everybody, down below is all of Paul's information. Please go watch his TED Talk. We're trying to get to 8.5 million views by the year end. And please connect with this teacher aide as well as his own website. They're all in the comments, or they're all in the comments below. You'll see them. And as well, please take the time. If there's one small thing you can do for 365 Give today, please subscribe and support our channel and support the podcast. Paul, thank you so much. It's 7 a.m. You're on your way to work. You're in Australia. We so appreciate your time and effort, and we'll look forward to having you back to the show.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Okay.